you've got to create what Napoleon Hill in his book, Think and Grow Rich, calls a burning desire. And you've got to have a burning desire to push through fear, to push through limiting beliefs, to get uncomfortable. A lot of people are in the comfort zone, and we all know nothing freaking grows there, right? And you've got to have that burning desire to push through all that. And so it starts with goals. And so back then, that's how I started. And when I lost everything, I realigned with my goals, and not just the goals. I realigned with why I wanted those goals, which is frankly even more important than the goals themselves.
We are honored to have Rod Khleif join us in the Champions Corner today. Rod is an amazing example of manifesting the American dream, and he embodies so many wonderful qualities as an entrepreneur, but also, and perhaps more importantly, as a human being. Rod's journey hasn't been easy, though. Battle-scarred and forged through adversity, Rod has experienced some amazing highs, been through rock-bottom lows, and risen back up time and again, stronger than before.
Rod immigrated to the U.S. from Holland at a young age with his mother and brother. He saw how hard work and smart investments can use to quickly build wealth. However, Rod also learned the hard way that over-leveraging and external forces can erase those gains even more quickly.
As a student of business and life, Rod rebuilt himself personally and professionally into better and more resilient versions. Now he finds fulfillment in living life to the fullest with his family and helping others in business, investing, and life, both as an entrepreneur and a philanthropist. Let's get in the Champions Corner with Rod and learn more about how he built a life free of regrets. All right, let's get into the Champions Corner with Rod Khleif and learn more about how to build a life free of regrets. Welcome to the show, Rod.
Wow, I don't know if I can help you build a life free of regrets, but I've got a few of those. But I will tell you, it's funny that you started that way because I tell the story about this nurse in Australia who was a hospice nurse named Bronnie Ware. I don't know if you know that story, but she took care of patients when they were about to die, and she asked them, "Do you have any regrets?" And she wrote a book about it. It's called The 5 Regrets of Dying. And you know what the number one regret was? Not living the life I could have lived, living someone else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. And honestly, I can't even imagine that regret. That's like the ultimate regret. To me, a lot of people fear failure. And I tell them, don't fear failure, fear that level of regret. But anyway, thanks for having me on the show. I kind of derailed us there for a moment. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. That's exactly where I pulled that line from, was just part of your story being very much centered around not fearing failure and fearing not doing things and having those regrets later in life. And so, yeah, that's exactly what that pulls from. So no rabbit trail at all. In fact, why don't you give us a little bit of your background story? I know a lot of people are very familiar with, or at least people that are familiar with you likely know a bit about your story, but
they've suffered through it. They've suffered through it before. So if you've suffered through it before, just tune me out for a few minutes. But for those of you that don't know who I am, which is probably the majority of you, honestly, I'm a Dutch immigrant. I was born in the Netherlands, wooden shoes and windmills, and immigrated to this country when I was 6 years old with my brother Albert, my mother's Vanja. And we ended up in Denver, Colorado, and really struggled initially. In fact, I remember eating expired food. We actually shopped at an expired food store. True story. I remember drinking powdered milk with our cereal in the morning because it was cheaper than real milk. And trust me, it's no good. It tastes terrible. And I remember, wearing clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army all the way through junior high school until I finally actually lied about my age. I finally admitted that I was 14. I was tall, and I went to work at Burger King flipping burgers so I could buy my own freaking clothes finally, and I know you've got listeners had it harder than I did, maybe even have it harder now. There's some economic craziness going on, but I knew I wanted more. And luckily, my mom had an incredible work ethic. So she babysat kids. We always had a house full of kids, and she was a bit of an entrepreneur with her babysitting money. So she actually invested in the stock market successfully and IPOs. And she also invested in real estate. And her first real estate acquisition was the house right across the street from us when I was 14. She paid about $30,000 for it. Bought it from a family named the Jewels. And When I was 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep. And I'm like, what? You made 20,000? You didn't do anything? Screw college. I'm getting into real estate, Mom. So I went out and got my real estate license and still living at home. And my first year in real estate, I made about $8,000. Again, this is 45, 46 years ago. So it may have been 10,000, may have been 7,000, but about 8 to 10,000. Second year, maybe 10 to 12,000. But the third year, I made over 100 grand. So what happened between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10x my income? Well, what happened was I met a guy, I was actually dating his daughter, and he taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology and how really 80 to 90% of your success in anything is just that, your mindset and psychology. And, fast forward to today, I've owned a couple thousand houses that I've rented long-term. I own thousands of apartment units now. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you might say, wow. And I said, wow. And if you want to do the math on that, it's like $8,300 an hour. And of course I did, for anybody that would hold still long enough. And when you get a big head like that, God of the universe, I thought I was real estate God at that point. When that happens, God of the universe will give you a nice little smack. Well, that was 2008. I lost everything in 2008. I lost $50 million conservatively. And so, what I'm known for talking about on my podcast and, anybody that'll listen to me long enough is really the mindset component of that. The mindset it took to have $50 million to lose in the first place. And then maybe even more important than that, how I recovered to the success that I'm blessed to have today, because it was all mindset and psychology. So I'm happy to drill down on that with you if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly really what we want to touch on in this. And so maybe we can talk about between years 2 and 3 when you 10x your income. Like, a lot of people talk those platitudes of mindset being really, the dominant portion of success and doing things like that. But what practical, you were taught some lessons, it sounds like, and what did you practically do to sharpen your mindset?
It's the same strategy I did when I lost it all. And frankly, I'll start with this. If you come to one of my boot camps, for example, the first hour and a half is goals. We do your goals, and we call it goal setting on steroids. Because how do you get anything if you don't know what it is? You've got to create what Napoleon Hill in his book, Think and Grow Rich, calls a burning desire. And you've got to have a burning desire to push through fear, to push through limiting beliefs, to get uncomfortable. A lot of people are in the comfort zone, and we all know nothing freaking grows there, right? And you've got to have that burning desire to push through all that. And so it starts with goals. And so back then, that's how I started. And when I lost everything, I realigned with my goals, and not just the goals. I realigned with why I wanted those goals, which is frankly even more important than the goals themselves. And so it starts with the goals. And then the next thing was, really making a decision. And for those, people that have never, stepped outside their W-2 job, or, they know they need to do something else, a side hustle of some sort, create the life that they deserve. It starts with that decision. And and I'm going to tell you, and let me just sidetrack for a second here. We could be heading into the greatest opportunity we see in our lifetimes. Okay. I can tell you the commercial real estate sector is a train heading towards a brick wall right now. I just saw some statistics for office alone, where the vacancy is staggering, the amount of vacancy, and all these operators, they can't afford to pay the debt. And so, I think there's going to be bank failures. I think and I think that could be the catalyst. We'll see. But as it relates to that, and why I bring that up is if there were a time to pick a vehicle, it's right freaking now. Decide how you're going to possibly capitalize on what's coming. If it's going to be real estate, or if it's going to be maybe buying businesses. There's 80 million baby boomers with businesses, and many want to retire. And if it's a multifamily, I'll give you I'll tell you about my boot camp coming up in Orlando in September. But again, it starts with the goals, then it's a decision. And and when I say decision, you've got to decide, hey, I'm going to go do this. But it's not dipping your toe in the water. It's not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like the Latin root for the word decision means to cut off. That means it's done when you make that decision. So an example of a real decision would be attacking the island in battle and burning your ships, because their ships are what you're going to take home, right? So that's a decision. And so that's the next piece. And sometimes that could be the biggest decision of your life is to decide to do something to improve your life. Okay. Or, I just did a keynote speech at a multifamily conference in Charlotte on Monday, and I was directing it not just to those brand new people, but also there's a lot of fear in the air right now. There's a lot of operators that got bridge debt these last couple of years that are freaking out a little bit because, if they've got loans, there's 1.6 trillion in debt coming due by the end of next year in commercial real estate. 1.6 trillion. Okay. Half a trillion is multifamily. And so, if your debt's coming due, you have two options, right? Sell or refinance. And neither one of those look good right now. There's been a 75% year over year decline in this first quarter in sales. And of course, we all know what's happened with the interest rates and cap rates and rate caps are insane right now. So all of that makes it very difficult to do those two options. So there was a lot of fear there. So, I spoke about these topics as it relates to people that are going through that fear as well, and how goals, it's so easy to get caught up, watching the news, for example. And, I want to remind you that the news are not public service organizations. They are for profit, and their job is to scare the hell out of you. And frankly, most of it's crap. You don't even know what to believe anymore. Don't get me started. But the point is, it's really important to pay attention to what you're focused on. Now, if you're watching this show with Mike and Legia, did I say that right? Legia?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, good. Okay. So if you're watching this show, you're a leader. There's no question. You wouldn't be here unless you're a leader. And I'm going to tell you right now, more than ever, the world needs leaders. And as a leader, you've got to pay attention to what you're focused on. Your focus is super important. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. But so you make a decision, and then you've got to take the first step. Okay. And sometimes that first step can be the biggest step of your life. And, Dr. Martin Luther King said, you take that first step in faith and the next step will be revealed. Lao Tzu, 1,000 years ago, said the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but you got to take it. And I know, a lot of people are analytical. You know who you are, and you have to check off every single box before you make a move. You are? No kidding, Mike. Mike raised his hand. That's funny. Well, I'm going to tell you, and you end up having to check up every box, and then you never take action. So I want to give you an analogy. Okay. The analogy is you can drive all the way across the United States at night, only seeing 50 feet in front of you with your headlights. You can make it because other people have made it before you. You might have obstacles, sure, but you can do it. It's the same way with your goals. It's the same way with multifamily, but you're not going to know everything day one, but you got to have a leap of faith and start the process. So again, for those of you that are analytical, I hope that helps because I really believe opportunity is coming. I'm excited by what's coming. I know there's going to be a lot of pain. I went through it in 2008 and 2009. I lost 50 million, like I said. So I'm a little hardened to the pain component. Maybe I'm not as compassionate as I should be, but I know there's an incredible amount of opportunity coming. So get your goals in line. And by the way, every January 1st, I do a goal setting workshop. I have it on my it's called rodslinks.com, rodslinks.com. And at the bottom of that link tree is my goal setting workshop. It's done in this studio with music. It's professionally done. There's a guide you can download. Go do your freaking goals. Have your spouse do your goals. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. Just go do it. And the sad reality is people spend more time planning a freaking birthday party than they do designing their lives. And that's designing your life. Yeah. Have your child, if they're 10 years old or older, have them do it. And now if you come to my boot camp, it's September in Orlando, and I'll give your peeps a hell of a deal if they want to come. Nice. We'll be doing goals there. But honestly, you should be doing your goals 2 or 3 times a year, frankly, because they evolve over time as well. So anyway, then you take that first step, and then the next piece, and cut me off anytime here because I will just keep going, Mike.
Keep going, preach, man.
All right. So the next piece is playing to your strengths. Okay, especially in this multifamily game that we're playing in, because it's a team sport, and there are lots of different hats you can wear. You don't have to be. It's very. I've met one person that bought a few thousand doors by himself out of the hundreds of people I've met. And so he was an anomaly, and now he's even syndicating and got a team. So it is a team sport. And because there's multiple hats, you can be the mouthpiece like me. You could be the analytical person like you, Mike, that maybe does the underwriting. Maybe you're process driven. You do the asset management. Maybe you've got construction experience. So there's a lot of different hats you can wear, but the key is to play to your strengths. Here's why. Because when you're playing to your strengths, first of all, you love it, okay? You never work another day in your life because you love what you do. If you're playing to your strengths, you're loving it. Secondly, if you love it, you're going to be passionate about it. And to influence people in anything, you have to have passion, right? You have to, and people want to be around people they can tell are passionate about what they're talking about. And if you love it, you're going to be passionate about it. So I'm going to tell you, play to your strengths, hire, align, or partner for your weaknesses, and success is inevitable. Some of the most successful partnerships I've ever seen in the multifamily space are an analytical person with an outgoing person. I see it time and time again. And that's a match made in heaven. So again, don't try to, yes, you can shore up your weaknesses a little bit, but you want to focus on your strengths. And then, I started talking about focus because you're a leader if you're watching this, and focus is so freaking important. And here's the reason it's so important, because whatever you focus on is going to get bigger. This is why I told you, don't get sucked into the news and the politics and all that crap, because it is all pretty much crap. And so, focus on the good stuff. Bring in the good stuff. I do a clip every week on my podcast called Own Your Power. And it's a motivational clip. And, and I will tell you, and I'm certain that those clips are the reason it's been so successful. We're pushing up against 17 million downloads. And it's because, people don't remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel. And if you give me 5 minutes a week, my podcast is called Lifetime Cash Flow. I promise you, I will juice you, whether you want to do multifamily or not. It doesn't matter what the industry is. But, again, mindset and psychology truly is 80 to 90% of your success in anything. So you've got to make sure you protect that. Also, stand guard at the door to your mind. Like I said, don't get sucked into the news, because whatever you focus on gets bigger. I'll give you a couple examples of this. I have students that, well, not students so much because they know better, but I have people out of the blue call me and say, I'm trying to get out of student loan debt. And I'm like, wrong statement. You need to focus on making so much money that debt's irrelevant, okay? They asked Mother Teresa if she was anti-war. She said, no, I'm pro-peace. Okay, I know it's a play on words, but there you go. It's what you focus on is what you get. And so it's really important that you pay attention to that. And I will tell you, it's very easy to screw up your focus. I don't know about you, but I'll be watching a movie on Netflix and then I'm scrolling through freaking social media, which kills your focus because you're making these micro decisions. Social media in general kills your focus. And it's interesting. I get excited about my 17 million downloads on my show, but I listen to 2 podcasts, Tim Ferriss and Joe Rogan. So I get both sides of the aisle. I try to stay balanced, even though I'm definitely on one side in a big way, but I try to stay balanced. And on Tim Ferriss's show, he interviews the best of the best. And by the way, both those guys get 17 million an hour, or definitely a week. I mean, it's insane. Their shows are so incredibly successful. But I listen to Tim Ferriss, and he interviews the best of the best in the different walks of life. So the best athletes, Michael Phelps, and the NFL, NBA players, best actors, Arnold and Jamie Foxx, Ed Norton, Hugh Jackman, billionaires like Ray Dalio, CEOs of the biggest companies, Zuckerberg, and just deconstructs their success. And I love the podcast for its intellectual conversation. But I started to hear a pattern. Almost all these people meditate. And I'm like, what does meditation enhance? Focus, right? So focus is freaking huge. The most successful people on the planet have the highest degree of focus. I'll talk about one more topic, and then if you guys want to ask some questions, you can, or I just keep going. But peer group is the next one. Actually, let me talk about limiting beliefs and fear first. So when I immigrated to this country, I got thrown into school, and I got to get behind me. I got to go off the mic for just 1 second because I want to show you something because it's funny as hell. Yeah, but I got thrown into school, and I found out what bullies were for the first time. So hang on 1 second. And then my mom, proud Dutch woman that she is, sent me to school in these wooden shoes. True story. These are actual shoes. We found them. Oh yeah. And then sent me to school in these leather shorts the Germans wear for Oktoberfest. True story. So I got my ass kicked again. And then, there were bullies on the end of my street that would chase me home from school, and she chased them off with a fly swatter. So, next day, Rod got beat up again. And I came up with this limiting belief that I wasn't good enough. And, I used to say to myself, how can I show them I'm good enough? Which obviously presupposed that I wasn't. And so, a lot of people have limiting beliefs like that. And if you are one of them and you're consciously aware of it, let me give you a tip, okay? Because I used to be afraid to raise my hand in class, fear of being humiliated or embarrassed. And now I speak in front of thousands and thousands of people in flip-flops and shorts. I'm becoming much more free from the opinion of others. But here's the key. If you've got one of these limiting beliefs, like I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not analytical enough, that was another one of mine. I don't have enough time, or I don't have enough money, or I don't have enough resources. Recognize that there's a reason the acronym for belief systems is BS, because 99% of them are just that, BS. But see, we believe they're real because maybe something happened to us in our childhood that caused them, us to believe they're real. But if you consciously aware of when one of these things pops up, pull it out. I mean, consciously is the operative word. Consciously pull it out and look at it. Look at it with your adult rational mind, operative word, rational mind. Recognize that it's BS, and you do that enough times and it'll go away. Okay? Super important. All right. Back to peer group. When I was losing everything in 2008 and 9, I was in Tony Robbins' Platinum Partnership. Okay. It's a high level, very expensive partnership. It was about 130 grand at the time. It's more than that now. And I was around people that were killing it. They were thriving in 2008, 9. And they're like, get up, you puss, 50 million, schmillion, go make something happen. Okay. Now, when the soup hits the fan, who do you want to be around, right? You want to be around people that push you like that, or people that, that are bemoaning, what's happening to them. And of course, the answer. And so I would encourage you, because you've heard the adage, you are the 5 people you hang around with, and it's or 3. I mean, show me your 3 best friends. I'll show you who we are in every aspect of your business, your health, your happiness, certainly your financial success. And here's the sad reality. Most people will default to a peer group they either went to school with, or they work with. And maybe those people don't have their best interests at heart. Maybe out of their fear or their limiting beliefs or their fear of losing you or fear of feeling humiliated if you succeed, they will hold you back. And sometimes it's family. So I want to tell you, love your family, but proactively choose your peers. Super important. Anyway.
Yeah, I love that.
So
I love that concept. Just it is so true, because we both, Leggy and I both were corporate employees, W-2 employees for 20, 25 years. 2016 came and some life events aligned in such a way that we decided to make a switch into entrepreneurship. We got into real estate, some investing, some multifamily, some vacant land, and things like that. And yeah, very quickly you find out that the people you have surrounded yourself with, in many cases, don't give you the belief that you can do what you're setting out to do, right? There's a lot of, why are you doing that? You're, all this stuff. And so you
have to be very careful. You have to be very careful who you share it with, because when you're first thinking about it, it's a fragile thread, and that thread is easy to break. And which is why it's so important to get into a peer group of people that want more. I'll brag for a minute. I have a coaching program they call my Warriors, and I've only been teaching for 5 years, and we're doing a count right now, and we're almost to 160,000. I think we'll hit 170,000 doors that my students own right now, units, okay, which I'm super freaking proud of. And here's the thing. Most of those were done between warriors, because it's such an incredible ecosystem. They were done between warriors. So, I would encourage you, if you're listening to this, get into a group of people that want success like you do, that aren't going to be afraid of when you brag about closing on a deal or you get a deal under contract. They're going to validate you. They're going to empower you. They're going to encourage you, because a rising tide lifts all ships, right? And I don't know about you. I'm sure you guys feel the same way. I want to be around people that think what I think is hard is easy. Okay. And so, I as an aside, I started a mastermind myself. It was here. I started here at my compound with 16 people, about $1 billion in assets. This was 5 years ago. It's now, I'm pretty sure it's the largest mastermind of its kind in the world, really. And that's about 35,000 in, 30 to 35 billion in assets represented by the members. If I did, that's right. It could be more than that, honestly, with the values having gone what they've gone. So, and I did it because I wanted to be around people that thought what I thought was hard is easy. And so, but I may shut it down or slow it down, because I need to have a life, and I was doing 3 events a year for that. But anyway, that's as an aside. But can I mention my boot camp real quick? Is that all right if I bring it up? Yeah. So I've got a boot camp coming up in September 15th through the 17th in Orlando. It's the only live event I do all year. Okay, I do some virtual events sometimes, but this is the only live one, 3 days in person. And I'll give you a code. What's the name of your podcast again? It's Cash Flow. Okay. I'll tell you what. Use the code Cash Flow. I'll tell you where to find it. But use the code Cash Flow, and you can come for $197. Okay. And I don't sell, it's not a sales pitch. It is 3 full-on days of training. I'm going to tell you, it's drinking through a freaking fire hose. Be prepared. Bring your A game, because I bring my A game.
We've been to one of your boot camp. Well, a virtual
you
boot
have?
camp. We didn't go in person. We went, it was, I think it was the first one that you did virtually. It was kind of when COVID hit. And
oh, no kidding. Oh, yeah. That was crazy. I was supposed to have 800 people in Orlando in 2020, and I had to pivot. I'm like, what am I going to do? And by the way, on that, not to derail the conversation, but sometimes you have to pivot in life. You have to innovate. And many people are going to face that over these next few years with what's coming economically. And so don't be afraid of it. Just, the day I figured out we weren't going to have that event, I'm in the backyard recording a virtual boot camp coming. In fact, I think the video is still on my freaking phone on the website. But anyway, but what'd you think? Did you enjoy it?
It was amazing. Yeah, no, just everything you've said so far. I mean, kicking it off with goals, it's a very rich goal setting environment, right? Where you're really getting deep into, not just something, but why, and all the emotions that go along with it. And then, the multifamily part of it was just outstanding in terms of.
Oh, thank you. And that's just that was just 2 days. I on the live, I condensed that and cut a lot of stuff out. I had to, because I made it a 2-day on the virtual, but the live is 3 days, and it's extraordinary. I'm just going to tell you, I've never had a complaint. That's a lie. Sometimes people complain about the food sucking or the room being too cold or something like that, but really never about the content. And thousands and thousands of people have attended. We expect 1,000 people in Orlando, and we go through every part of the business, building a team. A lot of people meet their team at my events, evaluating deals, underwriting deals, finding deals, financing deals, raising all the money you need for your deals, syndication, joint ventures, property management. And of course, I spend a lot of time on mindset, because I want the people that leave there to take action with what they learn, and they do. And I can't tell you the stuff I get on social media, like, hey, I went to your boot camp, now I'm in 1,000 doors and blah, blah, blah. Or, so I'm really proud of it. And again, if you use the code cash flow, I got to remember to tell my team that if you use the code cash flow, you can come for $197. Now, here's where you go to get it. You go to Rod's. I mentioned this earlier about the goal setting. Go to rodslinks.com. Now, if you're driving, text the word links to 72345, LINKS. Text the word links to 72345. That's my link tree. There's a ton of free resources there too. Besides the bootcamp website, I don't know when this is going to air. When is this going to air?
It'll be before September for sure. So
okay, all right. Well, there's a bunch of free books there, free resources there, and you go to the bootcamp site. Use the code cash flow. Yeah, the promo code cash flow, and you come for $197, which is a no-brainer. And if you come and you don't love it, I don't mean like it, I mean freaking love it, let me know. I'll give you your $197 back.
Yeah,
so first time for everything.
The one we went to, there was abundance of materials from the PDFs that we got in that one, just because it was a virtual and the videos and all of that. Yeah, it was really.
In fact, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm pretty sure it comes with the document library, which I have tens of thousands of dollars in, and my deal evaluator software, which is brand new that we just rolled out, which is better than anything out there, and it's free. Okay, that comes with the ticket. Those alone are worth 10 times the ticket. But sorry, I interrupted you, bud.
No. I was just going to say it was a great experience. We were just starting our multifamily journey right in that time frame, and so we were going through massive amounts of education, and it was really some of the best in class material out there in terms of.
Well, what a treat to go full circle with you now, 3 years later. How cool is that? Well, I'm honored. I'm honored.
We're in 1,200 units multifamily in various states, and really have kind of leveraged it to diversify our real estate holdings and wealth and all that kind of stuff. So it's great. Yeah, your material is great out there. And what we loved about it so much was we're big into mindset and all of the things that go along with that. So it's a great marriage of how the two can work together, right? You get the fundamentals of multifamily, underwriting, evaluating deals, due diligence, but then you get the mindset piece of it as well.
Well, that's the most important piece, because I will tell you, 90% of the people that go to a boot camp or a workshop never do anything with it. right?
Yes.
And not on my watch. Okay. And they've got, like I say, they've got to be able to push through that fear or push, if they're analytical, actually take action. And that's my hardest. I feel like we fail anybody that doesn't come. And honestly, I feel like I fail anybody who doesn't join my coaching program because, the success has just been exponential. But the bottom line is, I do everything I can to kick people over the finish line. That's truly, and it's been such a gift, man. I mean, I've seen so many lives transformed, and people that are able to retire from very high-paying W-2 jobs. It's just it's such a gift. Next to my kids and my wife, there's no greater gift for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Rod, do you mind talking a little bit about fear?
Sure.
Because I'm sure there are many people that would love to take action.
So what is fear? Yeah. So what is fear? False evidence appear. I'm sorry. Please continue your question. I'm sorry. I get excited because that's a topic I love.
How did you handle fear? I'm sure you were not totally immune to fear throughout your life. And how did you handle self-doubt? And what advice do you want to give to people that go through similar experience?
Very common. And I will tell you, if you're not having fear pop up from time to time, you're truly not trying anything. Respectfully, I love you, but it's the truth. Okay. And so, and we all have self-doubt. Now, us achievers, we call the fear stress, but it's fear. Okay. And so, I will tell you that it ties into something I want to finish up with, which is gratitude. Okay. Because it's impossible to be fearful and grateful at the same time, but I'll circle back to that in a minute. But again, what is fear? False evidence appearing real? Probably. Okay. For many people, it's F everything and run, and they don't do anything with it. Right. But I like to think it's face everything and rise, because when you are fearful, I'm going to tell you in my opinion, the best thing you can do is take massive freaking action. I mean, just go do it. And action mitigates fear. And I will tell you, whenever I have stress, come into my life, which is just, again, thinly veiled fear, I always, even if it's late at night, I will get up and do something, action towards that whatever is bothering me, because that mitigates it. And the bottom line is everybody feels it. The most successful people on the planet feel fear, but the most successful people push through in spite of it. The ones that never do anything get locked up and paralyzed by it. Now, fear is paralyzing, which is why your focus is so freaking important right now. Don't get sucked into the news and the politics and we live in strange times when they talk about UFOs and nobody really cares on the news, right? There's so much other crap going on. And so, don't get sucked into that fear, because that fear will paralyze you. And again, the most successful people on the planet all have fear, but they push through in spite of it. And for me, the biggest thing that helps me is just to take massive action, to look around me and be grateful for the amazing things that are in my life. And that's how I did it. I get very, very clear, especially right now with what's coming in this economic environment. I really believe commercial real estate in general is this train heading towards a brick wall. And I say that, I will tell you, I was just reading Forbes today, and there 6 of the major cities, the office occupancy was from 67% to 73%. These assets don't cash flow unless they're at 95%. So these assets are all losing money. These operators are either going to have to give them back to the banks. I think we're going to see bank failures. And that could be the catalyst. We'll see. But I think there's going to be a catalyst. I think we're going to have a big downturn. I hate it, but I believe it. And again, I'm not looking at it as a negative. I'm looking at it as, hey, I'm getting ready because I want to be able to capitalize and get some good deals. And so, that may be a little cold and heartless, but I lost 50 million. That was my time to suffer. But I do hate it. But this is what I was trying to communicate to people that were at that conference that I went to in Charlotte that I keynoted. Is like, listen, like Churchill says, when you're going through hell, keep going, right? And that's it. And just stay focused on what you want. Make sure you're really clear on your goals, because if you've got solid goals and you've got solid reasons why those goals are an absolute must to achieve, that's what you're going to focus on instead of all the peripheral noise. And that's why they're so important right now, to get clear on your goals and what you want, so that you have a North Star, as it were. You've got a guidepost, so that when that fearful stuff pops up, you're still focused on your goals and you're moving towards your goals.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you touched on some great things there in terms of fear. And one of the things I love about your story is, and something that you say quite often, I think you call them seminars, right? So it's a total reframing of failure, which I have had, in my 50 plus years of life.
We all have.
I've had to reframe because I had a really strong fear of failure, and I've had to, just totally revamp my association with that word to be feedback. And
did you have? I thought you were going to say you had failures. Have you had some failures?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's a part of
life. And
it's
only a failure. It's only a failure if you don't get back up. You don't get the lesson, right?
Yeah. And here's about your story is that time and time again you have done that, right? So you've just tried things and you learn from them. And so
let me tell you something. Let me tell you something funny. I'm sorry.
No,
I am so bad with interrupting. Let me just tell you something that I discovered a few years ago that I talk about once in a while. I have built 27 businesses. Okay. 27. Okay. Several worth tens of millions of dollars. Most spectacular flaming seminars. Okay. We fail our way to success, right? In fact, on that topic of failure, I got to meet the billionaire owner of Spanx, Sarah Blakely, the undergarments that hold all the stuff together, all that. And she started with $5,000 and she's in Forbes. She's worth $1.3 billion. I think I saw. In fact, I got to see them at Grant Cardone's Growth Con. Her and Jesse are just amazing human beings. Yes. That's her husband, Jesse Itzler. Yeah. But she told me at a mastermind that I saw her at, 8-10 years ago, that her dad used to ask her and her brother once a week, what have you failed at this week? Mm-hmm. And I thought, what a awesome question to ask your kids so they don't fear failure. Again, don't fear failure, fear regret. Sorry I interrupted, Mike. I'm so freaking rude sometimes. I apologize.
No, not at all. In fact, that Sarah's one of Lygia's, biggest, whatever you call them, like idols.
Heroes. Isn't she a beautiful human being? She is so down to earth. I just think she's the coolest thing on the planet. Let me tell you, she is so cool.
That story is amazing. And I remember hearing that on a podcast or something and just thinking, man, what a gift to grow up in that environment where it's just like free reign. Go try something and please fail. Tell me what you're.
Do you guys have kids? I
have 2 daughters. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You do? Okay.
They're in their 20s. They're right at the age where, I see them getting W-2 jobs and going down this path. And I'm just wishing But
I feel you. Yeah. No, I feel you. It's with kids, don't get me started on what they teach in school and what they should be teaching. I went
down that path, and that's what's kind of painful is having gone down that path, which I look back on my life and I have no regrets. I mean, it led me to where I am today. I was in, business and operations, and I'm very adept at, just to your point, like setting goals once a year, reviewing them quarterly, course correcting, adjusting, doing all those things. And nice. I'm a better business person today because I have all of that experience. I'm also, a lot more outgoing. I have leadership skills, all that stuff I gained through a W-2 job. And so I'm very grateful, but I do also wish I would have started investing in parallel or
sooner,
or something. But
sure. That's very common.
Was just in terms of your story, I think I remember that at some point, I think it was during the 2008 crash. When you were coming out of it, you found silver linings in all that, right? So I think one of the businesses you started was helping people get out of
foreclosures. Yeah, I started a litigation support company, but let me just when you said silver lining, it prompted me to mention something. Here's the thing: we've all had negative things happen to us. In fact, I was going to address this when I asked you about failure. The key is, what meaning do you place on it? Okay. Is it a positive meaning or so like when I talk about my failure, of losing $50 million, the meaning that I placed on is I never would have met my wife. And I have a supermodel, beautiful wife who's more beautiful on the inside than the outside. We have our ups and downs, but I would never have met her if it wasn't for that. I give it all up again for her. So that's the meaning. So if you've had something negative happen to you, if you're listening, I would encourage you to look for an empowering meaning. Okay. Because life is about meaning. And you can absolutely rewrite the meaning just by deciding to rewrite the meaning. I know it sounds simplistic, but it absolutely works. So,
Yes.
it's very easy when people have a failure that becomes their identity. And I'm going to tell you that, let's talk about identity for a second. There's no greater force in the human psyche than the need to remain consistent with how we identify ourselves. And anything you put the words I am in front of is an identity statement. And so if you look in my exercise room or my office, you'll see signs on the wall that say, I am success. I am a business genius. I'm the best in the world at what I do. I'm an amazing husband. I am courage. I'm determination. I am health and energy. All these signs I have in my exercise room in my office, because I will yell those things at the top of my lungs. I am success. I am courage. And I want to embody that stuff. And in fact, my kids, they help me out at my live events. And that's the question they get most often. Did he really? Because I used to tell people, I used to run down the street, yell this stuff. And they're like, did he really do that stuff? And they're like, yeah, he sure did. Now he's got an exercise room where they can't hear me. But I'm telling you, it works. Make fun of it at your peril, because when you affirm things like that, like if, let's say you're in some fear and you affirm, I am courage, you yell it and scream at the top of your lungs, it gets into the fiber of your being, and you say it enough and you believe it, and it transforms whatever part of your life you want to transform. So anyway, we're going off all sorts of different side roads here.
All good stuff though, man. It's really, really powerful
yes.
Things there. And
thanks.
So let's back to your litigation company as well as.
Oh yeah. So
if you're talking about looking for the opportunity in what, something will come, right? Whether it's a massive crisis, but there's enough properties, be them multifamily or commercial office space or other things that are distressed, that the opportunities, they're already out there, but it's just the tip of the iceberg, right? So
that's the key. That's the key, is to focus on the opportunity that's coming, not get sucked into the fear of it. Just think about it as opportunity. And again, it could be opportunity. Everything's going on sale. I'm just telling you right now, everything's going on sale. Every real estate asset class is going on sale. Office, I wouldn't touch office personally, but there's retail, industrial, mobile home parks, self-storage, multifamily, and, flex space. It's all going on sale because we're heading towards a reset. And businesses are going on sale, and there'll be opportunity there. And again, I would just tell you, if you're listening or watching, make a decision. Pick your vehicle. If it's multifamily, get your butt to my boot camp. You want to get up to speed as fast as possible so you don't miss this opportunity. Because literally, I believe you could set yourself up for life. Your kids, their kids, their kids, and their kids. I really believe that much of an opportunity is upon us. But you got to be up to speed. If you're trying to learn this business in the thick of it, it's going to be too late, because you've got to build relationships. You've got to, a lot of nuances to any one of these vehicles that you choose. I think there's an opportunity in buying businesses. I really do. But I have to I've got that shiny penny syndrome, obviously 27 businesses. So I got to keep the blinders on like a horse has and focus on multifamily, I hope I get through to you listening. If you're just doing a W-2 and you want more, please, for God's sakes, make a decision and go learn this and go do it, because I really believe it's coming. So, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you mentioned it earlier about burning the boats. I mean, that's kind of what we did. We and it was involuntary, quite frankly. We both got laid off in 2016 at the same time. All of our income stopped. Fortunately, we had a runway in front of us. We had some money in the bank, and we were able to pivot and make a decision. So that's a hardcore way to do it. It's actually my personality. It's hard for me to do things because when I'm focused and really giving it my all. But I would recommend, yes, in parallel, if you have a W-2 job, it's a perfect way. Start educating yourself, go to the boot camp, surround yourself with like-minded people, and ideally people that have already attained success and be able to leverage
whatever you want to learn, go learn it. If it's businesses, if it's single family, if it's some other asset class, multifamily, come see me if you can. But learn it. It's funny. I lost my train of thought. Man, I was going somewhere with what you just said, and I lost it. It's never pretty when you lose your mind.
Yeah, that's never mind. It'll come around. One of the things I do want to talk about, though, is you've coached, I'm sure, thousands of people by now through, you mentioned your warrior program and just the multifamily in general. What do you see as traits or characteristics that separate the the superstar performers to those that just kind of wash out?
It is so freaking simple. Okay. It doesn't matter what their background is. It doesn't matter what their economic situation is. It doesn't even matter what their IQ is. What separates my more successful warriors with the ones that aren't as successful is massive freaking action. That's it. They just go do it. It's a fire, ready, aim sort of thing. And they get the most connected inside my warrior community. My most successful students by far are the ones that are most connected in the warrior community. And if you're thinking you want to check it out, I'll throw this out there. There's an application process, but if you text the word crush to 72345, that's how you apply to my warrior program. It's extraordinary. I mean, literally, my job now is to protect it. I typically get on most calls, and if I get a hint of ego or narcissism, they don't get in. It's as much to build as it is to protect it at this point, because it's got a life of its own. I mean, in our Facebook group, literally almost every day somebody's closing on a deal. It's just extraordinary, and everybody's praising them and building them up. And most of those deals were done between my warriors, and it's something I'm super proud of. But it really is. It really is that, it's massive, massive freaking action. And as you know, in this business, it's as much who you know as what you know. It's those connections that you make when you're networking to raise money and put deals together and find deals. And so, if you're analytical and that's not your superpower, it's okay. You could align with someone that builds those connections, or you have 5 seconds of courage like I used to and put my hand out and say, hey, I'm Rod. I don't think we've met. And then I just ask questions like the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You take a genuine interest in the person you're talking to. You drive the conversation with questions. They think it's the greatest conversation they ever had because they're doing most of the talking. And that's how you push through, if you're an introvert. My wife's an introvert. She gets energy from being alone. Me, I get energy from this and being around people. But if, again, you can do this. You can push through it. But now that's the answer to your question.
Yeah, I mean, and all of what you just said. I mean, having been in this space for 3 years now, it is. I mean, we made a conscious effort to just build our network as broadly and as quickly as we can, and it gave us a lot of success.
Well, the podcast. I mean, your podcast extraordinary. Good for you that you did that. And I mean, when I started my podcast, I did it just to tell people, if you're gonna buy and hold, don't do single family, do multifamily, because it's my single family that pulled me down. Yeah. And I used to say early episodes, I'll never sell you anything. I just want to add value. Now I'm a freaking liar because I sell everything, but I never planned to. You want to make God laugh, you tell him your plans, right? But I do want to mention a couple things before because I do have a hard stop in 10 minutes. I want to mention a couple quick things if you'll allow me, Mike.
Please. Please.
Okay. The first is gratitude. I touched on that. There is no greater emotion that you have available to you than gratitude. It strengthens your immune system. It makes your heart beat stronger. It lowers your blood pressure. It brings you closer to your spirituality. And it is how you manifest everything into your life. I do these, most mornings I will sit in my recliner and I'll close my eyes and I'll do gratitude. Gratitude for my amazing, beautiful wife, my kids, my foundation, my coaching students. I'll just do gratitude just for 2 minutes. Then I'll do gratitude for the things that I want as if I already have them. I have my vision boards there. I'll look at the stuff that I want. Sometimes I'll get emotional being grateful for things I don't even have yet. And I know I lost some of you analytical ones on that one, but this is how I had 50 million to lose and how I got it back. Okay. So ignore it at your peril is all I'll tell you, because it freaking works. But gratitude's so important. And then the last thing I'd like to share is a story that I share, a powerful story. When I lived in Denver, I knew I always wanted to live on the beach, and there's no beach in Denver, but I would visualize the palm trees and the sand and the surf. And 20 years later, I built this $8 million, 10,000 square foot mansion on the beach. I had the beach on one side and actually had my boat lifts on the backside. It was called a Gulf to Bay. It's like a slice through the island. And that was unthinkable when I was 18. And so again, when you do your goals, take the lid off your brain. Imagine if you write it down, you're going to get it, because that's not outside the realm of reality. But I worked for that thing for 20 years. 2 months after I moved in, so 20 years, 2 months. 2 months after I moved in, I'm floating in the pool at night and I'm looking up at this testament to my ego. which is really what it was. It was to prove the world I was good enough. That's the truth of it. Because I had to prove that, I remember I asked myself, how can I show them I'm good enough? That was how I manifested that. And this was 2 months after I moved in. My family's inside sleeping. By the way, to describe this house, there was a giant waterfall from the second floor balcony into the pool. You had to walk through the waterfall to get the pool. Pool was in magazines. There was a giant spiral staircase up through the middle of the house, a wine cellar, elevator. On the second floor, I had aquariums built around the staircase, custom made, cost me almost $200,000. That gives you an idea of the house. So I'm floating in the pool and I got depressed. My family was inside sleeping. And I got depressed. I don't mean a little depressed. I mean, I was really depressed. I'm like, what the hell? I've just achieved success like times 10,000. I had the cars, I had the Maserati and the 2 Mercedes and the boats and the jet skis and all the crap. Well, what I realized was there were 3 things going on. One was it's never about the goal. Okay. You need the goals to create that burning desire. But the happiest, like they say, the happiest days of a boat owner's life, the day they buy the boat and the day they sell the boat, right? But you need the goal to create that burning desire. But really happiness comes from progress and growth. Okay. And I didn't know how I was going to grow beyond that or progress beyond that. And so, that was a piece. But the biggest piece was I was totally focused on me. Show the world I matter, show the world I'm good enough, blah, blah, Rod. And that's the year I went and saw Tony Robbins and spent 20 years following him around the planet. If you have a chance to see him, just do it. Trust me, you'll thank me. But I saw that he fed families for the holidays. And I'm like, what a concept. Do something for someone else. And, I'm embarrassed to say I had to be 40 to get that memo. But I went home and I called my brother Ed, who lives in Denver, and I was going to go see him for Thanksgiving. I'm like, bro, let's feed 5 families for Thanksgiving. So he called his church, found 5 families that really needed help. 3rd family changed my life. We bought toys for the kids if they had them, frozen turkeys, baskets of food. It was a blast buying this stuff. And we go up to this door and this woman sees all this stuff. She's got 5 kids, Hispanic woman. She starts crying when she sees it. Her kids come out. 2 of the older ones start crying. I start crying. And I'm blessed to say in the last 23 years, we've fed well over 140,000 children here in Sarasota and Bradenton. We've done tens of thousands of backpacks filled with school supplies. We're doing 1,500 backpacks here August 4th. We've done tens of thousands of teddy bears to give to local police departments for officers to put in their vehicles if they encounter a child that's been traumatized. And I'm not saying this to brag. There's a message in this. See, we've been taught to achieve to be happy. Like we shouldn't be happy until we've achieved. But I'm going to tell you, this is a play on words, but it's important. If you are giving back in any fashion, you're happily achieving. Tony Robbins calls it the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. Okay. I had achieved, but I wasn't fulfilled. See, achievement really is a science. If you want to learn multifamily, get your butt to my boot camp. You'll get the map, the blueprint. You just got to go do it. That's it. That's a science. But fulfillment is an art. You've got to decide what juices you. For me, it's kids. Maybe for you, it's animals, the environment, the elderly, whatever it is. Give back right now. Even if you're one of these young people watching this with blood dripping from your teeth, you want success so bad, I'm here to tell you, figure out how you can give back right now. The success will come faster. The money will come faster. Now, you don't do it for that reason, but that's the way God works. That's the way the universe works. What you give, you get back 1,000-fold. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. So give back right now, even if it's just your time, because that's the way the world works. And, candidly, anything in this universe that doesn't contribute actually gets eliminated. That's just the way this universe works. So, you were put on this earth to contribute. Make sure that you do. I just want to leave you with that.
Yeah, appreciate it. And man, we are certainly grateful for what you do, both professionally and in the community. And we're grateful for you sharing a little slice of your time with us today.
Yes, thank you.
And I know you're busy and have to get on with
it's my honor. It's absolutely my honor. And I thank you so much. And guys, again, remember rodslinks.com, text links to 72345 if you're driving. There's a ton of free resources there. The goal setting is there. If you can't make my boot camp, the boot camp website's there. Use the code CASHFLOW to get that $197 price. And I promise if you can make it, you will be glad you came. That's an absolute promise, no question. So thank you guys for having me on. I do need to run. If I can ever help you with anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Okay. And I mean, that's
likewise, Rod. It was a gift today and you're a blessing and all the best.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. All right.
What a great conversation today with a truly seasoned entrepreneur, coach, and master of his mind. We hope you'll take Rod's advice and set a compelling vision for yourself and also take massive action. We have so many more great cash flow matchups and champions lined up. So please subscribe to the Cash Flow Fight Club podcast and tune in for more great episodes that will help you on your journey to financial and lifestyle freedom.